the only 4 exercises you need to build big arms, mate, and fill out them tops, because you're doing arm days, you're doing drop sets, you're doing 4 bicep exercises at every session, then you're doing 4 tricep sessions, and if you're really that bad, you're doing forearm work as well. But then your arms look the same as they did 6 months ago, and you cannot fill out a gym top to save your life, which isn't good, is it? Because here's the thing, mate, doing more exercises and doing more sets or adding a drop set on isn't actually the answer. If anything, that's actually making the whole situations worse. And in this video, right, I'm going to give you the 4 exercises and the structure that you need to put them in that are going to make your arms blow up and fill out all your gym stuff, even if you have to go up a size, mate. And I'll break down exactly why your current arm work just simply isn't cutting it. Before I get into the video, I need to preface something and say, none of what I'm about to tell you is going to work if you don't have 2 key principles in place. In order for your arms to get bigger by doing these exercises and fill out your sleeves, you still need to progressively overload and you still need to logbook. So my guaranteed gains logbook system is the exact way that you can start logbooking, and when you start doing these exercises, you can write them down, the weight that you've lifted, the reps you've done, and make sure you beat them each week to progressively overload and build your muscle. There's the link in my description. You can just go get it now. It's absolutely free. It's going to be on your phone for your next session, and you can use it and start logbooking, start progressing, start filling out your t-shirts, mate. Like, why would we not do this? And you also need to train somewhat to failure, which will be covered by the logbooking, but because if you do more than the week before, then you would have had to have trained harder. So now let's get into it. The 4 exercises, mate. You're going to do 2 for biceps, you're going to do 2 for triceps. Not 4, not 5, not 10, not 20, 4. Because the problem when you're doing so much arm work, you're doing easy bar curls, you're doing barbell curls, you're doing cable curls, you're doing spider curls, you're doing behind the back curls, you're doing D-handle curls, you're doing dumbbell curls, you're doing seated dumbbell curls. The problem is because you're doing so many curls and you're doing so much overall work that the quality becomes shit. Because if you do 5 reps of an exercise compared to 15 reps of an exercise... I interrupt this broadcast message with a warning, and that warning is that I messed up. I should not have said reps. I should have said sets. That's what I meant to be. So when I say reps in this example, just pretend I said sets, and it makes more sense. Exercise. The first 5 reps might look the same, but if you've got to do 10 more, how good are the quality of them next 10 reps going to be? Not very good. So you might be getting quantity of work, but the quality of that work is terrible, which will start to hold you back from training to failure and progressive overloading, because your muscles in your arms will simply not be able to recover from the demand that you're putting them under, and recovery is a key principle for growth, which is why you can do less but more quality work and then recover and do more progressive overload when you come back in. The other issue that you're going to run into, which a lot of lads do, is that they swap and change the exercises that they're doing. So one week you might do the cable curls, and you think, oh, I don't want to do that this week, I'm going to shock the muscle. Then you do the dumbbell curls, and then you'll do the spider curls, then you do the D-handle curls, and then all of a sudden, like, you've got no consistency with your training. You can't progressively overload because you're changing the machine that you're doing all the time, and that's also going to hold you back, because without progressive overload, without consistent exercises, you ain't going to grow. Bicep exercise number 1, mate. All I want you to do is seated dumbbell variation. But with a seated variation, right, you have more control. You're going to be sat on the bench. Your lower back and your upper back are going to be braced against that pad. Your feet are going to be placed in front of your knees so you can push yourself back into that pad for extra bracing. You can hang your arms down low so you get a full stretch of your bicep. And then you can focus on just curling them dumbbells up into your shoulders. You limit momentum through your hips, you limit momentum through your shoulders, you limit all the swinging, and you can just place the load directly onto your biceps. Because the problem when you start standing is that you'll start cheating the reps when it feels heavy. When you start to get closer to failure, you'll start swinging your knees forward, you'll start bending at the hips, you'll start bringing your elbows forward, your shoulders will go everywhere, and you'll take the tension off the bicep. And your biceps are doing the fraction of the work that they could do, whereas if you just sat down and just focused on literally moving your elbow joint, that what your bicep works off, they're going to grow. You'll also be able to put more time into the tempo of your lift because you're not worried about bracing your core as much, you're not worried about swinging, so you can be nice and controlled and just think about all that internal focus into your biceps. So then straight into exercise number 2, it's going to be some sort of hammer curl variation. So you could even just go straight into a seated double hammer curl, right? But I like to just switch things up and keep modalities a little bit different. So if I'm using seated dumbbell curl for my seated variation, when I go onto my hammer curl variation, I will go onto something different. So in this instance, I'm going on the cable. And the reason to use a hammer curl variation is because it just targets a different part of the bicep. It hits the brachialis, I think it's called. And I'm going to put out a bit of a warning here and say that I am not an anatomy nerd. I'm not going to bore you and throw at you all the names of the insertions, origins of the muscles. That's not what this channel's about, mate. But it's a valid point when we're talking about training your biceps, because you want to train all of them, right? So that's why we use a hammer curl variation. So all you're going to do, it's the same principles as any other bicep variation, because it's your elbow joint, right? You're just going to turn your grip from supinated to neutral, and you're going to curl from there. there, okay? You still keep your hips still, keep your shoulders still, you still keep your elbows still, and you just focus on that bicep, okay? And just a quick side note, if you want to do these alternating single arm, double arm, that's absolutely fine. Like, it's down to personal preference, whatever feels better for you. And before I go on to the tricep work, I do want to make a point and say this will not work unless you are logbooking, unless you're trained to failure. Remember that. We're going to go again. So the first tricep exercise that I would like you to choose is just some sort of simple extension, right? So you can see me on the screen now, I'm just extending my arms. You can have a skull crusher, you can have a close grip press, you can have a dip, you can have a cable extension, you have a rope extension, whatever one you pick, right? Just pick a normal standard tricep extension that's similar to the biceps. The thing with any sort of tricep training is that your elbow stays still, your shoulders stay still. So now instead of bringing the weight up, you're pushing it down and you want to get a big squeeze of your triceps at the bottom. And then the second tricep exercise you're going to use is an overhead extension variation. So this can be a cable overhead extension, seated overhead extension, easy bar extension, dumbbell extension. Again, it's preference to you. I just want to some sort of tricep extension like so to make sure that you're targeting different portions of the triceps, because like the bicep, different grips target different parts of the biceps. Overhead extension will target a different head of the tricep. So we want to have both an overhead extension and both a tricep extension, right? So they're the exercises that I would personally pick. So how do we structure that into a program? Either on your upper sessions or on your lower sessions. I actually like to do arms on lower, but it's up to you. You're going to put a seated bicep variation and a hammer variation at the start of your lower. You're then going to put a tricep extension variation and an overhead tricep extension variation here, okay? So you're going to do 2 exercises there, 2 exercises there, and then so that you make sure you're hitting your arms twice a week, you're going to do the same thing, but you're then going to put it on the next lower session, okay? So I would probably pick 4 different exercises. So dumbbell curl. I then would then do rope cable hammer curl. I would then do a close grip dumbbell press, and I would do a seated overhead V-bar cable extension. And then when I come into my next arm work, I would do a seated dumbbell hammer curl, and then I would do a cable biceps curl. I would then do a tricep dip, and I would then do a easy bar overhead extension. So I'm still doing the same actual movements. I'm just changing the variation, but the same movements that I'm giving you exactly the same. But like I said, as a final hurrah, that you can do these exercises, you can do these variations, you can do this structure, but if you're not logbooking underneath or trained to failure, and nothing about your arms is going to change it, right? So make sure you get that guaranteed gains logbook system, because it's just a free guide. There's the link in my description. You can just go get it now for absolutely free. It's going to be on your phone for your next session, and you can use it and start logbooking, start progressing, start feeling like your t-shirts, mate. Like, why would we not do this? And you can also hit like and subscribe, because I put out some banging content for lads who have notoriously struggled to build muscle, but I found it very, very easy to build fat, which is annoying, but it happens. Because the people who build the best arms aren't the people who do the most overall exercises. They're the ones who do the less exercises, consistent exercises, but do them with less quantity, better quality, and train to failure, and stay with those exercises for longer so they logbook them and get bigger. That's how you truly build arms, mate. And if you want a bit of an in-depth look into how you can logbook more efficiently alongside your guaranteed gains logbook system, just go watch my video, The Laziest Way to Build More Muscle. It's going to explain it in a bit more detail and give you a bit more info into why you need to do this. Otherwise, you won't grow.